Hello and welcome. This is Dee from crystalcraftswithdee. I have a resin project that I would like to share with you today. So this one I'm going to be making a coaster, and I just want to play around with some ideas that I've got. So I have no idea if it's going to work. I'm using new resin I haven't used before, so it's just going to be a nice little experiment. So I have all my bits and pieces out here. I have my plastic sheet or silicone sheets on my workstation. I am in a well ventilated area. I'm in my laundry room. I got the window sort of open a little bit, and it's a little bit echoey in here. I apologize. And I have all my bits and pieces ready and raring to go. I have already mixed up my resin so that it can sit and get rid of some of those bubbles so you're not watching it on camera. So I'll just go through some of these things that I've got here. So I have my resin mold, and this one is just from Kmart. I've used that one before and it works really, really good actually. I have my resin mixed up here. It still has a few bubbles in it. I'm not too concerned about that at this stage. I have some spare resin up the back, and I have my little silicone jugs that I'm going to be mixing some white mica powder in. And I have my resin. So my resin is actually from a company called Harry and Wilma. They're located in Melbourne, and I'm going to try this out. It's artist's resin, and it dries super clear, low odor, anti-yellowing, that sort of thing, and it is a 1-to-1 portion, which makes it so much easier to sort out. I got a beginner's kit, so it came with a resin, it came with some mixing sticks, all sorts of bits and pieces like that. So I'm really keen to see how this turns out. So I've already gone ahead and mixed that up, so they can go to the back now. And I got some tweezers, some glitter, some little spoons, some toothpicks. And what I'm going to do is I am going to make a coaster with some dried flowers and some bark. So when my son and I were walking the other day, I found some really interesting bark. I thought that's pretty cool. I want to put that in resin. And I got some flowers not so long ago, and I've dried some of those flowers. So I want to pop that in there. And I've just got my little bits of bark there that I've pulled apart that I want to put actually in there. I also have, what do I have? Here we go. Oh, yeah, I want to show you this too. Just some different leaves and flowers and that sort of thing. I thought that was a really interesting texture and color. So I was just sort of collecting all sorts of bits and pieces. And then what I've done is I've actually pressed some flowers, and I'm going to use them in there as well. And I didn't do anything special. I just put them in between just normal copy paper under books for a little while. 2 weeks, I think. And I'm going to use some of them as well. So this is going to be kind of cool. And then on top of that, I might use, not camera over, might use some of this sort of like opaly glitter that I also got from Harry and Wilma. So it is all set up and ready to go. Hopefully my resin will be ready to go, because apparently it cures up relatively quickly, as in it gets sticky and goopy. So I want to get onto it pretty quick. So I'm just going to move some stuff out of the road so I've got some room. And, alright. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to pour a thin layer of resin. And I will use, this is my leftover resin from just a previous project. So I'm just going to put that in the bottom. Just like so. Because I want something from my bits and pieces to stick onto. And hopefully they won't go all over the place. I'm just going to make sure I get all that out of the bottom, because I waste not, want not. There we go. I'm just going to push that to the edges. Like so. Okay, and then what I'm going to do before I actually put my pieces in, I might actually put just a teeny bit of glitter. Just a little bit. I can add more glitter later. And then I might actually start putting my pieces down. So I'm kind of thinking, push him down. Now I want to make sure that this all gets coated in resin and there's no air bubbles inside. I'm just going to sort of plunk them around here, there, and everywhere. Oops. Just something like that. Okay, so I'll zoom you in a bit closer so you can have a look at what I'm rambling on about. There we go. That's out of the road. Okay. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to just sort of take some of these little flowers. I'm just going to take them off the stem. So hopefully they'll work. Just like that. Don't really know how I'm going to set all these out, but anyway, trial and error. So I'm just going to sort of put some in there. So that's why I didn't want to make the first layer of resin too thick, because I really only need it to weigh down my stuff and stick it down. Get off. And sort of give me a base, if you like. And then maybe this one here. Not really sure what I'm doing, but anyway, it's all experimental. Something like so. And I'll just pop him in the corner. Now I'm wearing gloves. Okay, so that if I do get any resin on my fingers, it's not going to cause any problems. So I'm pretty happy with that. And what I might do is use some of these flowers as well. And I have no idea what I'm doing, but that's half the fun. And I'm just going to kind of add them kind of like that. I just thought they had some really interesting shapes, these little flowers. And this one is like a whole one, so he can go on there if I can get him on there. Because the idea is you want all these pieces to be dried. If they have any moisture in them whatsoever, you're going to have a lot of problems with your resin not curing properly. So it does have to be completely dry. And let's see if we can pop him over there. That's it. And then I might do a couple of little flyaway bits up the top. This is really interesting, like the stamens from the flower. That is sort of quite pretty, these little yellow bits. I'm just going to kind of pop in there like that. Oops. I reckon we need something over here. pop him over there. What do you reckon? A little bit over here. Okay, so I'm quite happy with that. So I'm just going to pack up my flowers. How's that look? So the idea is that because that is actually sort of concave, I need to make sure enough resin gets underneath there as well as on top, otherwise it's going to be a bit of a problem. I'm not actually going to put any of these flakes in, so I'll leave them aside because I kind of like how that's turned out. So I'm just going to put all this stuff off to the side, and then I'm going to pour more resin in. So I was going to do white, but I'm not going to. I think I'm going to keep it clear. Yeah, pop him over there, and then I'm ready to pour. And then hopefully it'll turn out. So I'm just going to do it just lightly because I don't want to push my stuff over. And I don't want any bubbles. Now I know the resin's pushing it around, so that's okay because I will move it back once I've got all this covered. Just making sure everything is covered up. And I love the bark because the bark has such beautiful markings in it. Just going to let it sit for a minute and just allow that resin to kind of get underneath that big piece of bark. And I'm going to go back again. Just making sure I cover these guys. Now I can push them down. I could have done this in 2 different lots. Like done the bottom bit first and cured it and then put this on top, but you know, I like a challenge. So I'm going to get up to the top as close as possible. Right, that looks good. And then I'm just going to go put my little bits and pieces back to where I had them. Poke them down. That's good. So what I'm kind of hoping for is a bit of a 3D effect with this. Go down a bit. I don't really mind where these pieces go. I'm not all that concerned. If I was super like concerned, I could have, as I said, just done the base, cured that, then come back and stuck these on. But yeah, I'm not too concerned. Just pushing all that down, making sure that's gonna stay down. And I'm pretty happy with that. Good. Awesome. So I'm going to let that sit now and cure up. Now, these little bits that keep popping up to the top, I'm not all that concerned because I will dome it later. But I don't want them to be too high up. So once it gets really sort of thick, I might just give them another little push down, just to make sure they stay down there. But that's looking pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and let this cure up, and then I will come back and demold with you, and we'll see how this turned out. So fingers crossed it all works. So yeah, I'm going to let this be, and I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, so I've let this cure up for about 36 hours. And I'm really happy with how this has turned out so far. So I love how you've got varying of depths. So you've got these guys on the top, and you've got the smaller ones are towards the bottom. Most of it is all covered, and as you can see there, some of those bits are popping up, so that's no problem at all. I'm going to dome this now, and doming just means that once you've cured all that, sometimes it can sort of sit a bit like that, the top of your piece, or if you've got little bits that need to be covered, doming is just adding an extra layer of clear resin on top. But I think that turned out really good, and it's very hard. It's very glossy actually. I love this resin. It's absolutely beautiful. And what I really like too is how those yellow bits have sort of fallen to the bottom. Gives it that 3D effect. So super duper happy with that so far. So I'm going to go ahead and dome this now. I've mixed up my resin and it is sitting there getting rid of some of those air bubbles. I do have my gloves on, and I'm in a well ventilated area as usual. So I'm going to go ahead and just dome this a little bit. It's very, very easy to do. You just pour clear resin on top. It's nothing fancy. So I'm going to go ahead and start pouring on top. And I'm just going to let the natural way of the resin, how it sort of goes, and just let it sort of fall off. It'll do it itself nice and evenly. I'm just going to go around these edges, and hopefully I'm not in the camera, not in the way. Alright, and I'm just going to look at it at eye level just to see how even I've got it. And that's looking awesome. Yep, that's perfect. And that's all doming is. It's very easy. And then I'll let that cure for another 24 hours and then come back to it. And hopefully it should be all finished. So I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, time for the exciting part. So I've gone ahead and I've domed the top of that coaster there. And that came out absolutely beautiful. Looks so good. So it's time to demold. And I'm just going to peel this off, and hopefully it'll turn out all right. So it's actually quite thick, isn't it? All right. And I am wearing my gloves again because even though I'm not dealing with like the wet resin, you can still get this on your fingers, like the residue. So it's always best to wear your gloves just in case. But that is my beautiful coaster. Oh my goodness. Gee, didn't that turn out great? Oh, I love it. There's the back. Absolutely gorgeous. Oh, I'm so happy with that. And I tell you what, the surface is so beautiful and smooth. This is really good resin. I'm quite impressed. Very happy with that resin. So I just got a bit where it over poured, just a teeny bit around the edge there, just that one section. I'm not concerned about that. I'll leave that on there. But, you know, if that did bother you, you could actually sand that off. But I'm happy with that like that. But wow, didn't that turn out amazing? Oh, I'm so happy with that. Especially seeing as like I dried those flowers and everything myself. And that's just from picking stuff up out of the garden, out of my bunch of flowers, those white ones. And I actually really do like those little flecks of the pollen stamens in the background. I think that just sort of gives it that extra little bump. And I do like the bits of glitter in there as well. So that looks absolutely amazing. How cool is that? What a good little experiment. Very, very happy with that. So there you go. That is my gorgeous little coaster that I did. That was a lot of fun experimenting. Now I'm going to go out there and start looking at flowers and all different kinds of foliage that I can dry and press so that I can put it in my resin. So it's just kind of kick-started me down that thought process and try something a little bit different. But I think that turned out amazing. Now you could use this as a coaster. You could actually use it as a display item. So you know, where when people collect those sort of porcelain plates, whatever, and they get those little stands, you could buy one of those little stands and just plonk him in there, and then it's a nice little showpiece, or you can use it as a coaster, it doesn't matter. Very, very happy with that resin that I got from Harry and Wilma. Really good quality resin, and I love the finish on it. It's just gorgeous. Absolutely beautiful. So how gorgeous is that? I will actually be displaying this. I won't be using it as a coaster because it's just too pretty to hide under a cup. But I'm super wrapped with that. So there you go. That is one of my little ideas that I had. Like I said, I'll be sort of looking at different things that I can press and dry and kind of put in resin and do a few more of these because this is a lot of fun. So thank you so much for watching my video, and I will catch you next time. Bye!